This episode of Jack is brought to you by Weaver Leather.
Okay, here we are, day 6 with Jack, and this will be the end of the work week, and this should be an easier kind of a review day for Jack. We've done a lot this week, considering that if you look back to what he looked like on day 1, and what I'm gonna try to do here is just wrap everything up, review where we've come from, just touch on a few of the things that I've done, and then Jack's gonna get the day off tomorrow. I have to go out of town, and I bet Jack would like a day off anyway. So all I'm doing here, I just brought him out here, and you can see a drastic change in him as far as how he regards the stick and string. On day 1, I couldn't even get near touching him. It took me several days to get it to where I could touch him, and now you can see that he's much more focused just generally. He is watching it. He's very attentive to it, but he's not scared of it. And he's standing here quietly. He's paying attention. He's not overly scared. So he's getting more what I would call balanced, and that's what I'm after. I mentioned it in yesterday's video that I'm after a horse that looks like a horse I would want to ride. And for this being a 2-year-old stallion just pulled out of the stall on a cold morning, he's being very quiet. This is starting to look like a horse I would want to climb on and feel safe climbing on. Attentive, quiet, focused, and as you can see, quiet to the stick and string. I'm going to double check this. I'm going to even offer him the chance to back up without me actually touching him. That was interesting. You saw him lean back, but then he didn't move, so I'm going to go ahead and follow through by actually tapping him. And then the reward comes in the release. So I stopped the tapping, that was his reward. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to give him that waving motion without touching him. He stepped back, I'll give him the reward. And so we can see that that has stuck there. So that's great because I'm going to need to be able to use that in the future so that I can get him out of my space and just have a lot more clear communication with him without having to be back in here trying to back him up by getting back in behind here. Let's check out what else I've done. You'll notice that I haven't worked a lot on moving his front end yet, although it's there. It's there because I've worked on that body motion. So even though I haven't specifically stopped to focus on moving his front end, I can move it enough to send him out because he just respects this pushing motion with my body, with the stick and string. There he offered, he went, hey, resting, turning and facing you equals resting. Can I just stand staring at you? And I just answered by a no. Now notice the draw that this spot in the arena has. Yesterday, I said that I was rewarding him at that 3 o'clock. If we call the back door right here, noon, I was calling that spot over there 3 o'clock. That is where I ended yesterday. That's where I kept rewarding him, was over here. Notice that when he came out, that was the first spot that twice he said, can I stop and turn and face you here and we'll be done? He's learning what kind of a pattern we're following. This is how smart they are. He's studying the pattern. He's thinking about where we're ending, what it takes to get done. He knows that right over in this area is where if he's turning and facing me, for some reason, he doesn't understand why, but for some reason, we get done over there. He gets a reward over there. So you can see the draw, and that's what I'm going to be calling it for the rest of the videos. You can see the draw that that spot starts to have on him. He starts to really think something about that spot, and you're going to hear me refer to using draw more and more in the videos. He's licking, he's chewing, head down, relaxed, going forward. I couldn't do any of this on day 1. Introducing the voice cues. There I just wanted him to speed up a little bit with the cluck. Eventually cluck's going to mean trot or speed up. I'll eventually cluck for more speed in my spins. I'll cluck for more speed in my circles when I'm riding him. And so I'm just introducing him to the idea. Kiss will mean lope. It'll mean lead departure. It'll help me in a lead change, but very first it's going to help me hopefully prevent him from bucking when I ride him, because if I kiss and he lopes right off, bucking is more of an up and down motion than a forward motion. There I kissed, he didn't respond, so I reached out with the stick and string. There I kissed, he responded, I didn't need to. We still see some of the untrained attitude, and he's very fresh, and it's nice and chilly this morning. So he's playing a little bit, but I'm not offended. You'll notice that I asked for that lope somewhere over near that sticky spot, because I need that spot to be balanced out. It can't always be a stopping spot. You'll also notice that when I ask him to lope right now, I'm not asking him to maintain it. He's just picking it up for a few strides, so we'll watch and see what he does this time. 1, 5, 6. Okay, so I didn't count very fast, but he went maybe a quarter of a circle there, and that's all he carried the lope for. Right now, that's all I need him to do, is when I kiss, he needs to squirt forward. And then later on, when I want to maintain the lope, I'll kiss to him, he'll lope maybe 4 or 5 strides, and then he'll think about breaking down. Then if I want to continue, I'll kiss again, and I can string those together. But right now I'm just giving him the reward for loping. The other thing that's happening right now is he is telling me a lot about who he is right now. So when I'm loping, when I'm asking him to lope, and he's only carrying it for about a quarter of a circle, he's telling me that he's naturally kind of a tight horse. And I'm going to describe that to you. The first day we videotaped him running around loose, he was really hesitant to lope and run free. He did instead what would look like a dressage trot. He was doing this big, but it was like a tight, it looked collected, a very collected kind of a trot. And when he lopes, he carries himself very collected. And so when he's hesitant to lope here, it's partially because he's very tight and collected. When I see this in him, I think, great. This is what your mom had that made her able to be a bridleless horse. Because if I kissed, I've got a little mini out here that my son has. Maybe we'll bring her out, and I'll show you that when we kiss to her, she runs and runs and runs and runs and runs. It looks like a little wind-up toy on the end of a string. And she's telling you that she's very hot, very forward, gotta go, zip, zip, zip. And, okay, she's only this big, so she's not gonna be a bridleless horse anyway, but she's telling you she's very forward. For what she's gonna do, which is gonna be carriage driving, she'll be great because you can zip around in your little carriage. He's telling me that he does have a lot of the characteristics that made his mom a great bridleless horse.
Join us next time for another episode of Jack.